everyone. Welcome back to Gen B. I'm your host, Zoomer Cincy, and today I'm just going to be talking about something that's been on my mind recently, about just personal finance and budgeting and why people need to be on top of this. So I've titled this little quick presentation, "No One is Coming to Save You, Why You Need to Be the Master of Your Own Finances." A lot of people kind of just honestly sleepwalk through their financial life, which is understandable. You know, they go to work, they buy things that they need, they buy things that they want. They don't really stay on top of exactly what's happening with their financial situation. And then they have to work their whole lives and can never take time off from work, like not have an employment job and really think about how they want to spend their life. They really end up being slaves and working their whole life, and they don't have a choice. That's really the key. They don't have a choice but to be employed their whole life. And why is that? Well, the main reason is that your time and energy is being stolen through our paper monopoly money. So the dollar, if you're an American, but it doesn't matter, whatever fiat currency you're using is just paper. It's just digits in a screen, and it's not backed by any scarce asset or any valuable asset at all. In the past, pre-1971, our dollars were backed by gold, so there was a certain amount of gold backing each dollar, and that meant that the dollar could maintain some kind of purchasing power, which means that if you worked and you spent time and energy doing something and you wanted to bank that to be able to spend in the future, which is how an economy works, that you would be able to redeem roughly the same purchasing power into the future from what you had worked for in the past. So if I put 4 hours of work into something, I would be able to redeem that 4 hours of work at that 4 hours of work value in the future. But what happened? We went off a sound money standard, and now the dollar's not backed by anything, and the government can just print more of it whenever they want, and there's no cost to do that. There's no cost, which means that when you spend time and energy and you save that time and energy in monopoly money, they can create more of it out of thin air and spend that on actual scarce goods and services in the economy, which makes them go up in the monopoly money price. It's going to take more monopoly dollars to buy this because there are more of them in circulation. And all money is just a measuring stick for time and energy. It's an abstract unit of account. It's an abstract measurement for time and energy, quantified, so that we can have an economy and interact with each other without using a barter system, which is very inefficient. So why you need to care about this is because you will be a slave your whole life. You will work your whole life and you won't have a choice on how you want to spend your life. You know, maybe there is something you're passionate about that you want to work on your whole life, but you won't have a choice. You won't have a choice. So that's really why you should care, is because you've been forced into this situation. We don't live in a world where you can just do a really good job at work and save it in your local currency and then think that you'll be able to be free someday. And you can't even think that you'll be able to redeem that money at the same value in the future. Our money is so poor that you can't even work today and redeem that work at the same value in the future if you're saving in the dollar. And that's the root of the problem. If I put in 10 hours of work today and I have 10 hours of purchasing power in today's money, if I just park that in cash and 10 years passes, I may only have 1 hour of work's purchasing power from that same money. And that's theft. That's criminal. It's a crime against humanity. They're stealing your time, they're stealing your energy, and they're turning you into a slave. So you need to be on top of it. You need to be on top of your finances. You need to budget, and you need to acquire assets as quickly as possible. So first of all, I just want to point out that debt is poison. When you're budgeting and looking at your personal finances in your financial life, debt is an obligation to somebody else that you need to pay them. So basically, your income in the future is already allocated to somebody else, and you have no choice but to acquire more money, more assets, so that you can pay these other people. And debt is just not a good place to be. So I have this chart here, and this is the most recent chart I could find that kind of breaks down non-mortgage debt, even though, some people would consider me to be a little crazy, but I don't really even think that people should be going into mortgage debt. And if they are, they should try to have it be as short term as possible. So like 30, 50, if 50-year mortgages really become a thing, like avoid that at all costs. That's a lifetime of slavery that you're signing up for. But right here, we kind of have the average debt per household broken down into different types of debt. And I just wanted something that broke it down beyond just like mortgage debt, because most people have mortgage debt, and that might be the largest kind. So credit card debt, average household is almost 20K in credit card debt. And again, this is from 2024, so I'm sure in 2026 it's over 20K. Student loan debt, 58K. Auto loan debt, 36K. So basically, all of the important things that you need to do in life, whether it's getting an education, buying a car, buying a home, getting married, having children, people are forced to go into debt for these things. You don't have a choice. You're a slave. And that's not good. So to the extent that you can, whatever control you have, don't go into debt. Don't do it. This is the biggest hindrance to people's financial lives is debt, and it accumulates at, depending on what type of debt you have, it can accumulate at a pretty high interest rate. So I would avoid debt at all costs. You can put yourself ahead of your average man if you don't have debt. You're free if you don't have debt. You can do whatever you want if you don't have debt. You can go try anything if you don't have debt. So avoid debt. Debt is poison. That's really all I have to say about it. If you don't have the money to buy something, don't buy it. Don't do it. It's not worth it. You're borrowing from your future self to pay for something today, and that usually doesn't end well. Next, be profitable. So you need to make a budget, and to do that, you need to understand your current situation. You need to know the things that you're spending money on. You need to know your expenses, break it down. How much am I spending each month, each week, each year? And then analyze that. Is this where you want to be spending your money? Are there things that you can cut out? What do you really need to be spending money on? Are you paying down debt? Are you saving for a house? Prioritize your expenses, know what they are, and cut out what you can. And then you also need to know your income. You need to know how much money you're making, and you need to be operating in a profit, meaning you need to spend less than you earn. So you need to be earning more than you make so that you can pay off debt if you are in debt, or save money for the things that you want to purchase or to invest for the future. And you need to stay on top of this so that you can monitor and make adjustments where you need. But really, a lot of this is just like out-competing those around you. And if you're not in debt and you have a clear picture of your financial life and you're profitable, you're already at an advantage compared to the average person out there. And finally, with the profits that you have in your day-to-day life, you need to be acquiring assets, because unfortunately, like I said in the first slide, we are living in a world where they're printing money out of thin air. The money supply is increasing, and that means the things that you need in life are going to get more expensive, priced in the currency. And that means you need to buy assets which are valuable, whether that's stocks, which are equity in a company, or whether that's gold, or whether that's Bitcoin, or real estate, or art, or other collectibles, and preferably a little bit in each category. If you want to avoid fiat debasement, you're going to have to invest in these things with your profits. And you can only invest if you're profitable, and investing only works if you can hold for the long term, which means that you'll need to stay profitable so that you're not having to dip into your investments and sell off assets in order to pay your own personal expenses. So investing is super important. There's a lot of different theories on diversification. Some people would say to diversify in order to avoid any losses in one specific area. So I do agree with that. I don't think you should be 100% in any asset, but At the same time, if you are not already financially independent and you have huge conviction in something and you've actually done your research and you have a rational reason to be convicted, you have an investment thesis, then I think it does make sense to concentrate in a certain area. For myself, I'm pretty heavy in Bitcoin. I have huge conviction in this area that it's going to be the best preservation of my purchasing power, and it also allows me to hold the asset myself. So it's a bearer asset, and I believe that it's probably the best bearer asset in the age that we're living in now. And so I'm concentrated there, but I also own equity. I also plan on buying real estate someday, physical gold. I have a small collectible collection like sports cards and stuff. So, I'm diversified across different assets, even though I'm concentrated in one area. And the reason that I'm able to do that is because I'm profitable. I spend less than I make, and I invest the difference, and I stay on top of my finances. And if you truly want to be free in your life, if you want to have financial independence, and freedom doesn't necessarily mean not working, it just means you have the choice. You have the choice. If you got fired today, would you have to immediately start looking for a job? Would you have to immediately start looking for new employment? If the answer is yes, you're a slave. You don't have a choice with what you do with your life. Do you want to be a slave your whole life? Or do you want to have the choice on how you spend your limited time here? Me personally, I want to have a choice. I'm not financially independent. I'm a slave, but I'm not going to be a slave forever because I'm working on mastering budgeting, financial investments. And that's really the key, guys. That's all I really wanted to talk about today. This has kind of been on my mind. No one's going to save you. It doesn't matter if you have a pension. Like, the pension can go away. You don't actually own anything. Like, even with stocks, like, you don't actually own the stocks. I kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit. Like, bearer assets. Everyone should have some kind of bearer asset, whether it's gold, Bitcoin, real estate. You need to have some asset that you own in your own custody. Like, you own it, okay? Because stocks can be taken from you. Money in the bank can be taken from you. Cash can be inflated away. Like, your pension is not promised. Even if you have some kind of contract, like, your pension can go away. So you need to have something that you can provide for yourself, that you hold yourself. I'm really passionate about that. If you haven't thought about it before, think about it. Master your budget, know your expenses, spend less than you earn, and do research into certain assets and invest in them. Acquire assets. I don't think that people should avoid equity completely, but stocks shouldn't be your only long-term investment, because they can be taken away from you. The odds of that happening are low, but they can. You need to have something that cannot be taken from you. Cannot. You need to have something like that to fall back on. So, yeah, guys, I'm sure I'm going to talk about this more in the future. Just wanted to share this with you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks, everyone.